Hello, parents. Welcome back. And this is Raising Leaders. This is another episode in my series on first-born child, middle child, and then last-born child. You would see that I went a bit overboard on the first-born child, making of the first-born child. And that's probably because there's a lot happening with firstborn children, and it didn't just start now. In fact, I've heard some say that there's something called the curse of a firstborn. The curse of a firstborn. I don't believe in it. I think it happens because of some of the things I've talked about, what we do as parents. So if you haven't listened to that it's a set of 3 videos in that series. If you haven't listened to them, please go ahead and listen to part 1, part 2, and part 3. You really, really have to listen to them. Now, today I'm talking about the last born child, and I'm sure you probably know where I'm leading to. And I don't want to be general about it, but there are some general assumptions about last-born children. Whether the assumptions, whether they are real, when I talk about them, you review them and find out where you are. But it's usually assumed, or it's usually a general notion that the last-born children are spoiled. They're spoiled. And I don't know that that's true in all cases, but I know that it's common. Now, why are they spoiled? And they're spoiled because they get a lot of attention. So we've looked at we're looking at the second child that tends to get a lot of attention. While the firstborn child gets a lot of attention that is more firm, sometimes too firm, it seems to be the opposite with the last-born child. So the last-born child gets attention as well, but the attention they get is, the kind of attention that makes them get away with murder, if you like. And that can be attributed to several things. For some, it's perhaps because most of us had our first child in our maybe 20s or early 30s, apart from those getting married now. But in those days, many women, the fathers would probably be in their early 30s and the moms in their mid or late 20s when they're having their first one. So we're alert. We're ignorant in a lot of things. We've never done it. And then we want to get it right. There's this thing about, I've just got to get it right. I've got to get it right. So we try to get it right with the first one. And oftentimes we mess up still. And then the last one, we've been through, a few experiences, the first, maybe second, maybe third. And so the last one, we tend to be more liberal with them. We tend to be maybe tired even. Maybe some of us are even tired by the time the third or the last child shows up, depending on how far down they are. If they are like the 4th or 5th child, what I was talking about in my last video about the surrogate parent or surrogate mother then comes in, because you will find out that the firstborn then almost naturally or is expected to take on the role of the mother. If the last one is further down the line, maybe like the 5th one or even the 4th one, the firstborn then becomes like their mother. And that's fine. I'm going to be talking about peer mentoring after this series, which is okay. Remember, I said that I do not think and I do not agree with us focusing all attention on the firstborn, which I think our parents, at least in my family, our parents did. They did all the work on the firstborn, and then the firstborn is supposed to replicate what they did in the lives of the younger ones. And then I called, at least in my experience, my older sister was like a surrogate mother to us, and I don't think that's right. However, with last born children, they tend to get away with a lot. And so we want to be very careful. First, I will say to every parent here, especially in this age that we're in, if you're tired, don't have children anymore. If it's just one that you're alert and can be present for, then have the one. But this idea of having 2, 3, 4 children and then hoping that the older ones will take it, I think it's an old idea. Our parents did it, and maybe we did a bit of it too. But the younger parents in our midst should not get into that. 1, perhaps 2. And the reason I say that, and I'm going to be coming back to talk about the challenges that parents are facing and will face in this era. The way we brought children up in the past is totally different from, the way children are going to be brought up in this era, in this age. A lot of things are fighting with our authority as parents. For those living in Western countries, the government, the schools, social media, peer influence in school. There's a lot that we're having to deal with in this generation as parents. So going back to the last born should get equal attention as the firstborn. If, like I said, you're getting tired and you feel like your attention is not, maybe you're pursuing your career, then no parent should have a child that they cannot adequately be present for. Because oftentimes we tend to think of, being able to take care of a child as, just the financial side of it. That's the least of it. That is the least of it in this day and age. I'm talking about us being present emotionally for those children, being present physically for those children, being present spiritually. And what I find with last one is that they are the ones that tend to miss out in that area, or in those areas where their parents are not really present. So we make up for not being present with gifts, we're spoiling them, we're just letting them do whatever it is they want to do. The things that we did not, we almost, in some families, I almost see, it's almost as if the last born children are raised as if the parents have become grandparents. I can understand how grandparents allow their, grandkids to get away with stuff. But we know that when they come back to us, then we tidy them up. But if parents are the ones doing that, then it could be really dangerous. It could be really, really, I don't want to use the word tragic, So you want to use the same firm hands, the same way, obviously not, to the extreme that you're scared they would, get things wrong or anything like that. But don't send the idea to the first ones or to the older ones that you're partial. I hate to use the word partial, but oftentimes that's how it comes across to the older ones, that this child can get away with mother, with dad, or with mom because he's the last one, because she's the last one, she's spoiled. I think the same thing often tends to apply to only children, which maybe in sometime in the future I'll talk about, but only children tends to be treated the same way. The only child in the family, if there's just one child in the family, or if it's maybe just the male in the family. So they may have a string of females and there's just the one male, or several boys and there's just the one female. We want to be very careful. I know it's difficult because we're human beings and we get emotional, but let's just try to use the same yardstick, the same level of discipline. Children have a way of pushing the boundaries, and the last born even more so. So let's be careful that we notice, we are observant for when they are pushing the boundaries. If it is a no, then you have to stick with that no, even when you feel like yielding sometimes. I mean, you could say things like, oh, well, next time, if you do what you're supposed to do, then next time. But every time you move the boundary, every time you shift, You're saying to them that it's okay. Every time you manipulate me, then I'll do that. Every time you say what I want to hear, then I'll do that. And kids are very crafty, especially last-born children. They're very crafty. They can be very manipulative. So let's stand firm. By all means, love our children. Buying gifts and allowing them to get away with stuff is not necessarily the same as love. It probably suits us, and makes us feel good. But in this day and age, it's really important to be firm. Let your yes be yes. Let your no be no. If you've set boundaries and you said, well, if this happens, if you do this, this is the consequence, then let them learn through the consequence. Don't move the boundaries. Keep your boundaries and stay firm. Whether it's the first bond you're dealing with, the second bond, or the last bond. All right. May the Lord help us. It's a tough job. Thank you for stopping by today. God bless. Bye now.